Alright, before I go over the remaining hitboxes, I just want to clarify that all these hitboxes I've been visualizing only applies to hit scans and projectiles. The reason is, for example, if you look at hook or whip shot, even your crosshair is aiming straight onto the character's hitbox, in this case Bastion in sentry form, the ability won't hit. But if you aim on top and above the Bastion, then it lands. Probably because there's another set of hitbox that governs these type of projectile. Maybe someday I'll figure that out, but anyway, for now, let's go over the actual hitboxes that can be scanned through the workshop. Let's start off with Orista's Supercharger, Sombra's Translocator, Wrecking Ball's Proximity Mines, Baptiste's Immortality Field, and Symmetra's Sentry Turrets. They're just simple capsules of sphere, nothing special about them, pretty standard. Oh, in these new vists, I've included the orthographic view of the hitbox alongside with the in-game view. It should give you a clear comparison of the hitbox size and eliminate any bias in perspective. This line indicates the ground, and each square is 1 meter by 1 meter. For the in-game view, the camera height is usually 1.25 meter, which is equivalent to Tracer's, Ana's, and Junkrat's eye level. Now for Symmetra's teleporter, it's not that simple. What I originally think predicted the hitbox looks like is something like this, like one capsule for each pedestal, maybe this sphere in the middle part. But actually, no. What it actually is just a single mesh covering the entirety of the base. That means you can actually shoot the area in between the pedestals and it will still register. There's a minor problem though in which the hitbox is not aligned at the center of the actual model itself, and it's also not symmetrical, which gives you some weird cases like this. If you shoot these parts specifically, it won't count. The main body and gun barrels of Torbjorn's turret are capsules, but the base, like the teleporter, is another single mesh. Well, I can't think of any practical usage that can take advantage of this, because most likely if you're trying to peek the turret, you get shot first instead. Therefore, against a turret, you don't have to have perfect aim on it, just shoot at that general direction and you should be fine. For Widowmaker's mine, it's just a box, nothing special about it. But here's a comparison of the mine and her hitbox. Notice that the mine is actually bigger than the head. That means, for you sneaky Widowmakers out there, you can actually completely protect your head if you place it facing yourself like this, compared to placing it sideways like on a pillar, can only protect partially, so keep that in mind. Okay, on to ability hitboxes. Now, Genji's Deflect, Sigma's Kinetic Grasp, and D.Va's Defense Matrix are box-based hitbox. So I've put them in-game in the workshop. The code is on screen, which you can mess around with your friend, with another player, or with a bot, and throw things in the hitbox and see how it works. Though, keep in mind that the boundary of the hitboxes lies in the center of these beams. D.Va's Defense Matrix is a long box extending from D.Va's cockpit. While its length matches the visuals, the width doesn't quite so because the shape of the visual is like a frustum. Remember, projectiles from any direction going into the matrix are deleted, as long as D.Va have line of sight to the projectile's path. Also, note that the defense matrix is placed in front of your character hitbox. That means unlike Genji, where you can get protection from the side, you can only protect your front, so look towards the direction you want to absorb projectiles. Sigma's Kinetic Grasp is also placed in front of his character hitbox. The texture animation here is fixed, so I highly recommend you to check it out in-game yourself as well to clearly see the visuals in action. One important observation here is that the grass hitbox will sort of like detach, in quotations, from the visual when the Sigma is looking straight up or straight down. This is because the pivot point of the rotation is rooted in the character's eyes, but the visuals are parented to his hands. Since Sigma's hand does not follow through when he looks up or look down, the visual will be different from the actual hitbox, so keep that in mind. The hitbox actually have the full height of Sigma's character hitbox, so it protects him very well. As long as he's looking at you, there's no way you can deal damage to him. Junkrat's Riptide have some problems with the scan. I split the scan into 3 parts to scan from the front, side, and top, and in each scan there is this missing corner ended up in a different spot, probably because the tire is bouncing and tilting all the way. You can't freeze or stun the Riptide, so I guess I'll just ignore that and treat it as a regular 10 gun cylinder. Honestly, it's quite big of a hitbox, so don't be afraid to shoot it down since it only has 100 health. I'm not sure if the hitbox will rotate as the tire moves around, but if it does rotate, it's just a big cylinder, so there won't be much of a difference. Bob's hitbox is fairly accurate, I would say, but he's just a big fat static omelet in-game, no way you miss those shots. His head is relatively big, so if you're close enough, make sure to land all those juicy headshots.
I don't think so. No.
One thing that is notably different from other character model is that for Bob, there's no separate hand hitbox. His hand is only covered by his forearm hitbox when fully extended, so therefore there will be some pretty specific situation where his hand will become not part of the hitbox. Now for shields, from the Brigitte scan we know that they're actually accurate enough, so I won't be like scanning those because, you know, mapping out the actual shield model itself is a very hard task from those data points. So I'll only go over Zarya's barrier because it's a simple big sphere, diameter 3 meters and centered 1 meter off the ground. For most heroes, the character hitbox will be fully encapsulated by the bubble, except Winston during his ult. His head, shoulders and arms, especially when he's moving around, juggling people around, will extend beyond the barrier's boundaries. But when a hero is protected by a bubble, they will take no damage even the shots landed on their body, as well as because the shots were not landed on the bubble, Zarya will not gain any charge from it, nor the bubble will take damage. Going back to Genji's deflect, a minor correction to that is, after a bit more testing, I found that if your projectile direction is exactly 90 degrees to Genji's looking or facing direction, then that projectile won't get deflected. Practically, you won't be facing like 90 degrees exactly to the Genji, but that's just a technical correction because I stated that, you know, that line on top of that video, that is wrong. But I had to emphasize projectile direction, not your facing angle, since if your weapon is a shotgun type of weapon, then each projectile will have its own trajectory and will be determined if it will be deflected individually. For example, half of Doomfist's hand cannon projectiles will be deflected when you're facing the Genji at a 90 degree angle. Or if the projectile is affected by gravity, then the instantaneous direction is considered. At last, I want to show you something that I experimented on, but it didn't quite work out that well as I expected. I tried to scan the hitbox animation of these heroes. You can see on screen, you can probably guess those heroes by the movement itself. While it actually does look good in this way, there's actually a lot of limitations that I found. One is that the workshop cannot detect any hitbox change within 10 frames, which means usually the server should like update the hitbox every single frame, but if I use the workshop to scan those points, it only updates every 10 frames. That's the reason why those animations are kind of laggy, because for every 10 frames it's actually the same pose, but it's just moved to another point in space. And that's a server limitation that I can't change. Two is that because I'm scanning the hitbox every frame, the resolution is limited. You can see that the resolution is very low right now compared to what we have, for example, Echo, this one. This is the actual full scan for Echo. I just, you know, visualize them as scans from bottom to top. You can't get that detailed, and therefore you might miss some small hitboxes. For example, Mercy's wings. And yeah, that's the video. Thank you KarQ for featuring my work on his channel. If you haven't watched this video, be sure to check it out right now. And also thank you for subscribing to my channel. If I have time, I'll probably do more videos on, you know, Overwatch abilities and stuff. My next to-do list is probably the projectile size. If you like this video, be sure to comment it down below. Let me know what you think. And after all, thank you for watching.